allowed in this country is in the stock market. Because at least in the stock market you are seeing there is a company here, Safaricom as an example. Yesterday I was reading somewhere that Airtel has now surpassed Safaricom in terms of their customer base. You know, when you are told invest in those companies, gamble in those companies, there is something where you know you'll be watching your stocks rising on a daily basis or going down, which is life. But where you are putting in and you don't know whether you're going to get money to buy a loaf of bread or even a cup of tea. No. I say no to that. So, Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I completely oppose this report, and I oppose anything to do with gambling in this country at this particular time. I think in the next 10 years, once we've been able to fix our current problems of understanding each generation, is when I'll be able to entertain anything to do with gambling. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I oppose.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion, which is a report of the Mediation Committee from the Senate and the National Assembly that brings to a close a very difficult exercise that we've had, which is to try and rein in and bring control on a very difficult sector. A sector, Mr. Speaker, that has been described very ably by my colleagues. In fact, I agree with them on their prognosis. What I do not agree with them, is a final diagnosis, what they eventually consider to be the solution. I've listened to my colleagues, Senator Ledama, Senator Cherargei, and while I agree with all the things they have said about gambling, Mr. Speaker, I am afraid that what they are prescribing as a solution might not serve us. We live in very interesting times, Mr. Speaker. You know, in the year 2018, this Parliament, the Senate, sponsored me alongside a few of my colleagues to Colombo, Sri Lanka, for a conference titled Evidence-Based Decision Making. That conference eternally changed my life. And to date, as a lawmaker, if you follow me every afternoon, Mr. Speaker, including yesterday, I follow the evidence before making a final decision. This country, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, we make decisions based on political affiliations or feelings sometimes without looking at what the hard facts are telling us. And that's a debate we had here yesterday, for example, where I tried to remind my colleagues who are here, Senator Sifuna, Senator Halwale, Mr. Speaker, that while it is long held that there are counties that are rich and counties that are poor, a better way of looking at places, Mr. Speaker, to consider for affirmative action of any kind, Mr. Speaker, is to break it down to the lowest administrative unit, which is a sub-location, Mr. Speaker, and have a nationwide consideration. Mr. Speaker, this is one such scenario as well. We agree that gambling is a menace that has messed up so many young people, so many families, so many women, because it's not just young men, Mr. Speaker. You will recall that there were times when they had put some slot machines across the country. It was a very interesting spectacle where you'd find women folk in the village at about 4 o'clock trooping from their homes to the center to go and slot in the coins, Mr. Speaker, with the hope that they were going to have their luck on that particular day. I'm afraid, Senator Ledama, that you know when we legislate, we pass laws for things that we know, things that we like, and those that we don't. I understand very little about gambling. In fact, I don't know even how to gamble. But unfortunately, as a lawmaker, Mr. Speaker, I have to make decisions that are in the best interest of the people that I represent. Rift Valley, where I come from, Mr. Speaker, is a mecca of bettors. That's where the hardcore betting population of this country lives. And I know this from very, excuse me, very sound authority, Mr. Speaker, on statistics that I've seen. How many young people wake up trying to get 100 shillings or 50 to place a bet on something with the hope that they'll succeed. And of course, like has been described by many of our colleagues, 90 to 99% of the time they don't succeed, because that's how gambling works. I know that there's something they say, the house never loses. The house always wins. Unfortunately, Senator Ledama, choosing not to regulate this sector is not an option that you want to take. Why? Because even if we made the decision that we want to ban gambling in Kenya, are you aware that 60 to 70% of gambling nowadays has gone online? And they are from sites that don't even exist in Kenya. And those sites, just listen, Senator Ledama, I've done some good research on this. Those sites are operated by very sophisticated software that even if you block their IP address this minute, by the next minute, they have generated a new one. And our young people are following those sites there. So we must think of ways of how we will regulate this sector, because unfortunately, banning or choosing to close our ears and eyes and saying that this is not allowed in our country, Mr. Speaker, is burying our heads in the sand. We live in a digital world. Unless we want to say that we block the internet, perhaps that's the only solution that remains. But as it is today, Mr. Speaker, the unfortunate and the hard reality is that we have got to find ways of bringing order to this sector. Countries all over the world continue to grapple with this. I took time. Actually, the former ambassador to Kenya from the UK. Yes, I don't mind.
Senator Olekina, proceed and inform Senator Cheriot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the fact that the majority leader began his debate by giving us a history of what led to his style of debate, evidence-based. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the issue of evidence-based, it is imperative to remember that as a country, what we need to remember is that our national identity card number is the one that unites us. There is nothing that stops us, majority leader, from ensuring that when you, for every transaction that you use, either online, to confirm any money, you have to use your identity card number. In fact, nowadays, when someone cons you, so long as you can get the identity card number, you can find a way, and we need to be able to find a way, Mr. Speaker, and this is what I'd like to inform the majority leader, that we can use that identity number to block you from doing any other transaction. In other countries, Mr. Speaker, where gambling is restricted, the moment you try to gamble, you're asked to put your national identity number or your driver's license number. If you go to Australia, before you enter a club, and they know you're not supposed to enter a club when you're not 21 years old, you give out your ID number. In a club, they run it through to make sure whether that ID is legit or not. Nothing stops us from ensuring that this website that the majority leader is talking about, that if you block this IP address, even the IP address is a problem, ensure that everyone, any transaction which is done in the Kenya space, even if the site is in Germany or America, requires you to put in your ID number. And if you put in your ID number, if you're not over 18, or if it is gambling, it blocks. There are ways around it with technology and AI.
Senator Ledama needs to spend time with these young people to understand what I'm telling you. Those sites are not hosted here in Kenya. They are not designed here in Kenya. Therefore, you cannot determine for them what information they require from the people that are placing bets on those particular sites. They make payment using cards, ATM cards, Mr. Speaker, and sometimes on mobile money. Therefore, it is not possible, Mr. Speaker, to do what Senator Ledama is proposing, because I know for a fact, Mr. Speaker, that these online platforms that are taking away most actually of the gaming revenue, Mr. Speaker, away from this country. And that is another discussion we need to have all together. Because second thing, Mr. Speaker, in the administration of the gambling space, Kenya and Tanzania took two different paths. Kenya decided to treat it as a social ill that needs to be regulated. And therefore, they imposed a sin tax on it in the form of an excise duty, meaning that every time you place a bet, Mr. Speaker, there is tax deductible just trying to dissuade people from participating in it. And that is what has led to a lot of traffic going offline, away from the regulated online betting spaces in Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Tanzania, on the other hand, chose to be facilitative and appreciated and said, while this is a social ill, they treated it like just any other social ill. They say, something must kill a man. For you it is gambling, for another person it is drinking. And therefore they said they treat all of them equally. And as we speak today, the level of business that operated in Kenya has gone down, while in that particular part of the country, it has increased. That is point number 2. Mr. Speaker, I do not think that Kenya made the wrong decision. I believe years down the line, Tanzania will regret that particular decision. And therefore, on that one, I agree that as a country, we must find ways of inhibiting the gambling habits of the people that participate in that particular space, Mr. Speaker. But I was just bringing to the attention of the House the evolving space within which this industry operates. That as we try to tax them here to dissuade them from participating in these games, they have actually taken off and they are now online. As we speak today, Mr. Speaker, therefore, we must find ways of regulating this sector so that what other countries have done, Mr. Speaker, is that they have tried to ensure that there is benefit, and any challenges that occur from subsequent months and years of betting to a particular individual are actually sorted by the betting house. You'll find that many of them, for example, and before Senator Ledama rose to inform me, I was giving the example of a piece of legislation that was shared to me by one of the interns at the UK embassy about a year or two ago, by the time we were beginning this debate. They said that they have actually forced all gambling entities, so long as you provide gambling activities in the country, be it online or in the form of a casino, Mr. Speaker, to keep a record of the customers. And they share. And there is a trend they are able to trace. If they find that you are getting to levels close to addiction and you're becoming dependent on it while it's just supposed to be a sport, Mr. Speaker, they actually call you and they offer counseling services to you, mandatory by law. That's the kind of work that we need to demand from the firms that operate gambling activities in this country, that they must look after their customers. That if they notice that you are actually addicted, Mr. Speaker, they provide support services to you as a customer. That needs to be provided by this authority. That's why I want to persuade my colleagues that turning our backs on our countrymen and women that are struggling with this menace, Mr. Speaker, is not an act of leadership. It will be an act of cowardice on our part. While we may not agree with their choices, Mr. Speaker, we pass law in this house for the people that we agree with and those that we don't agree with, Mr. Speaker. I say that I don't know even how to gamble. I have never gambled in my life, Mr. Speaker. But I am fully aware that so many of the young people that vote for me to come to this house, Mr. Speaker, battle with gambling addictions, for example. I must provide a regulatory framework for them to have an entity that will look straight into the eye of these betting firms and tell them that look after your customers. Ensure that you provide support services to them if they get to addiction levels, Mr. Speaker. The CSR support that Senator Cherargei was talking about, Mr. Speaker, it must be provided so that you counterbalance between the force of good and evil in the society. So that at the end of the day, if there are challenges that they have brought about in the society, how have they counterbalanced it? By providing, for example, everybody knows that the biggest contributors in this day and age in the sporting world are actually these betting firms. Across the globe, Mr. Speaker, they sponsor the biggest of sporting franchises out there, Mr. Speaker. They develop gymnasiums, stadia, Mr. Speaker, because of the realization that people's choices, Mr. Speaker, vary from one to the other. Therefore, I want to urge my colleagues that while looking at this particular topic, Mr. Speaker, that let us be mindful of the fact that this is not a simple decision that you can just make and say, we choose to look away. What we need to is first, you need to have an authority. I think, I don't know what it is called, the current regulator, BCLB or something. I think it's just a department in one of the offices here. You need an authority that has representation from almost all spheres of society, Mr. Speaker, including even religious institutions. Those who will have the courage to sit in that particular board, Mr. Speaker. So that when you set the tough conditions, Mr. Speaker, the farms live by the rules, they play by the rules, and we protect many citizens that continue to battle and struggle in this particular space. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge colleagues that have taken time to read through this report. I appreciate that it has been a protracted battle between the Senate and the National Assembly. Their perspective of things, Mr. Speaker, there are many things we had included, including taxes that we proposed. If you remember, we had actually proposed something akin to a sin tax to ensure that we dissuade young people. But unfortunately, when these people went to the mediation, it was dropped, because I know National Assembly will never agree to any tax proposition coming from the Senate. Of course, the matter was not even given a chance. I knew that proposition, Mr. Speaker, had the chance of a snowball in hell the minute he left this house, so long as he was going to get to the National Assembly. Because they don't view this for what it is. It is a broader conversation about what is the space of Senate with regards to taxation and so on and so forth. And therefore, we lost it at that. My thinking, because I listened to, I don't know who it was, one of the members who moved that proposal on taxation, Mr. Speaker, was actually to sort that issue that I had proposed, or that I had spoken to earlier, between how we chose to administer betting and the difference in approach we took between us and Tanzania, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, since that was lost in the mediation, I concede, Mr. Speaker, because we must be able to achieve the greater good, then we'll tie in the small ends eventually when we have the opportunity. So I want to request that we conclude on this business today, Mr. Speaker, if possible, so that when we get the opportunity to have a regulatory authority, then we shall invite them to this house and now ask the hard questions, Mr. Speaker. Maybe, I don't know, maybe, just maybe, that there are technological solutions that are available to these companies that are running betting, Mr. Speaker, online, and don't have presence in Kenya, they don't pay taxes in this country, Mr. Speaker. I know that there is a lot of ways in which we can find them. I know, for example, Senator Ledama, because earlier on you had asked me what might be the solution, is that you can force their bookmakers, because all these online betting firms rely on bookmakers that are actually regulated in countries that have even stronger regulations in this space than the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, to give us the odds so that you're able to establish how many transactions they made out of this country and what it is that they paid. Because now in this law, thanks to the mediated version of the report, even if we have no ways of finding and establishing, we shall continue to demand of them until such a time that we catch up with you. You may be domiciled out of a country that a tax haven somewhere that Kenya has no relationship with, but somehow, someway, the long arm of the law, when it eventually catches up with you, then you will pay into the Republic of Kenya. Therefore, I appreciate that proposition that has come from this committee to tax even those that are participating in the online space and have no physical space in offices in Kenya, Mr. Speaker. You may not have the chance to recover anything from them at this point, but somehow, someway, one day, one time, Mr. Speaker, you will find the opportunity. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, is to ask our colleagues, Mr. Speaker, to treat this matter with the urgency that is needed. Because listening to those that are opposed and supporting this, there's one point that we all agree, that this is a space that needs our urgent attention as policy makers, Mr. Speaker. so that we find a way. Senator Ledama is proposing that we create a city akin to Las Vegas, or the one for China is called what? Macau. But that will only work for those that operate on casinos, Mr. Speaker. What about those that participate on these in the online space? What will you do to them? Like I have said, there is no way of stopping them, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I want to urge Senator Ledama that let's create the authority first, then the rest follows. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support and thank the colleagues that did a lot of work in bringing this report before the House. I thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader. And it is good that you declared you've never participated in gambling. But I'm just wondering, is sending fare a gamble?
Mr. Speaker, because you have asked me a question, yeah, sending fare is a gamble, especially for a young man like Eddie, Mr. Speaker. Because chances are she may come or not come. That is a gamble. It has odds, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. You know, Mr. Speaker, for the first time I've seen a situation whereby you invite Senator Cheriot to give a comment on what the Speaker has said without ruling. And, Mr. Speaker, this issue of fare, I'm looking at the eye of the majority. He looks very annoyed when you raise the issue of fare, although he's smiling, but he's burning in the inside. It seems like his fare, he has gambled a lot with this fare to the extent that he wants. But on a more serious note, Mr. Speaker, let me just share a few ideas or thoughts on this gambling thing. And actually, Mr. Speaker, right from the start, I want to say that this is something I seriously oppose. And I totally oppose it for a variety of reasons. I was actually in the mediation team, and I was very clear that this is something that we should not even be able to entertain in our country. Because something like gambling, Mr. Speaker, happens in the context of a society. And every society have got different challenges with how gambling manifests in it. A democracy as strong as the United States, Mr. Speaker, had a serious gambling issue in the latest years that we have seen in the last 20 years, to the extent that, Mr. Speaker, that despite that the United States is actually a 200 years democracy, they have really struggled with the issue of gambling. Because there are a number of vices that come with gambling that, Mr. Speaker, cannot be commensurate with the benefit that you come with whatsoever. In fact, in 2018, I had just left the United States 2 years before that, when the conversation about gambling was going on very strongly. And Mr. Speaker, in 2018, there was a Supreme Court decision that declared sports gambling in what we call Murphy versus the National Collegiate Athletics Association unconstitutional, to the extent that this was a case that was looking at sports gambling and the vices that was bringing among young people in the United States. And the fact that the United States had, even as a city where we call it Las Vegas, where you can actually go and do gambling there, and some sort of regulations that are within states that allows for resources from gambling to be able to enable those states raise some revenues without necessarily taxing people, or rather adding more taxes on people, and then do very specific services to those states. For instance, where you find originals who are in the United States, who we call the Red Indians, their communities must have been left behind in some inequality issues around economic development that has happened in the United States. You might find that some gambling might be allowed in those quarters just so that you can raise resources to enable them be able to deal with those services that their communities need. But other than that, Mr. Speaker, the overall issues and the overarching issue of gambling, Mr. Speaker, becomes a very complex thing to maneuver, even in advanced economies that can be able to monitor those vices like the United States. And Mr. Speaker, the question here is, this particular mediated version is very heavy on the opportunity for our government to raise taxes. But Mr. Speaker, when you look at an industry like gambling, this is what you call regressive taxation. Regressive taxation, Mr. Speaker, is where the amount of money you'll be able to collect practically from an activity such as gambling will continue dwindling, going down, but because you have given it an element of law to exist, the amount that are being earned from that particular vice by people who have invested in it will continue to be abnormal in terms of their exponential growth. So therefore, you can never use gambling as a place to target tax revenue. Because it's one thing that if you allow, it has got what you call negative externality. When you allow it to happen in your economy, you cannot control where the revenues are going to come for the owners of those businesses. So then it goes without saying that other vices that are going to be there will always cost the government more in terms of dealing with them. Mr. Speaker, for instance, if you allow gambling and you're making, for instance, you're making, let's say, 4 billion for purpose of conversation in terms of taxation, and then you go an industry that goes to about 800 billion Kenya shillings, and you're only taxing 4 billion because it's regressive. And then, while you're doing that, you find a society where young people are not employed, young people don't have technical ability to go to school because they are adapted in what we call compulsive gambling. Compulsive gambling is where other behaviors have developed in your entire population, where kids from secondary schools and primary schools start gambling behind the scenes in the black market. You don't have control because they can be able to afford mobile phones. You don't have control of their behavior. They start gambling. And then this is starting to impact their education, starting to impact their concentration in school, starting to impact their behavior in terms of even starting to steal from their parents to go and gamble. What about a society where the poorest people, who are not even in the middle class, are not going to start focusing on their work, but instead spending more time gambling? You see, this will have a ripple effect in the society when you look at their total productivity factor. Mr. Speaker, you yourself in your office employ a number of young people who have just come from college. If they get captured in gambling, and then after they've been captured in gambling, they don't pay attention to the work you've given them to do, what is the impact in their productivity to what they're supposed to do for you as a Speaker of the Senate? What will end up happening is that you will have this big impact, and that's what we call it compulsive gambling, in the sense that the negative effect in the society is so big that even if you are to collect a lot of taxes from it nominally, not in absolute terms, because in absolute terms, the money that's going to gambling is always going to be humongous. It's always going to be exponential compared to the money that you end up getting into the taxes. Now, why do we collect taxes, Mr. Speaker? We collect taxes so that we can be able to, as a government, provide services to our people. Now you're in a situation whereby, Mr. Speaker, you are competing between the money to give roads, the money to provide water, the money to provide affordable housing, the money to provide SHA, and then you now have this population of young people who have developed other vices, including mental disorder in the society, Mr. Speaker, that now as a government you must spend on. That's why we call it both a regressive tax. You're going to collect a relatively small amount of money compared to what is in that industry. And then secondly, you're going to have compulsive problems where you have, as a government, to spend in those problems. You will have to spend on the population that is not productive. You'll have to spend in the population that is becoming, having mental disorder. You'll have to spend in the population that is facing problems of selling their assets and becoming poorer. So you're getting tax that is regressive. It will never help you. Gambling cannot be a place where a government wants to go and face and start looking for taxation as a revenue. It doesn't work like that. In fact, if we had got stronger counties, Mr. Speaker, then this gambling thing could have been left for county legislations, where counties see it possible that we are going to have this particular form of gambling or level of gambling to provide a certain service for on-source revenue, not even as a substantive tax, but for on-source revenue, like what is happening in the US, where states, especially those who have got red Indians who are struggling, are allowed to collect some form of revenue from very limited and very restricted gambling activities, and in very restricted areas like Las Vegas. Then you help the society, Mr. Speaker. Why are we as legislators seeing this bill passing right in front of us and we let it go when this is something that will have a ripple effect? Mr. Speaker, you will see the level of growth of gambling companies when you pass this bill. Everybody, including politicians here, Mr. Speaker, which is one of the biggest problems that the United States is facing, China is facing, bigger countries are facing, of political crime, where politicians are going to enhance corruption. It's going to work the same way we are seeing sometimes some mushrooming petrol stations, where even in neighborhoods where they've got residential tickets, people opening up petrol stations as a way of sometimes hiding some funds. That's an easier problem, Mr. Speaker. A bigger problem is being able to allow for this bill to pass and make it even easier for people to have gambling licenses, Mr. Speaker. Because there is no way to monitor a gambling activity apart from just the revenue metrics, which is what we are putting here, to be able to look at what revenue has come in and what can we be able to get from that revenue. Mr. Speaker, this will be a conduit, a place for the political class to even hide money, a place for money launderers to hide money, a place for criminals to hide money. Surely, the Senate of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, that has been seen for the last 3 years when the country has faced tempestuous moments, when the country has faced a lot of challenges, we have seen as the house that brings back sobriety in this country. When Senator Cherargei gets up to speak on matters of national importance, matters that concern the nation, Mr. Speaker, the country listens. The country trusts the Senate. The country trusts the Senate above the National Assembly. The country trusts the Senate above even the executive, above the county assemblies, above the Council of Governors when it comes to issues of national significance, Mr. Speaker. I know for a fact of women who have faced a lot of problems, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mogeni, what is your point of order?
Speaker, you know, this is about House of Representatives. I've had my good friend, Senator of Migori, making some bad inference against other legislative houses, where he says that data existing shows that Kenyans don't trust the National Assembly, they don't trust our 47 county assemblies, they only trust the Senate. Is that factual, going by the contents of Standing Order number 105? We should not say things we cannot back by data.
Senator Eddie, what did you imply by that statement?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, you know, Senator Morgan is my senior. I know how much I respect him. He should not say what I did not say. I did not say that those other institutions are not trusted. I just said we are trusted more than them. It's a level of trust. It's an issue of level of trust. And there's a number of data, including Muzalenzo Trust, Mr. Speaker, that does all these data-driven research that shows that Senate is actually more trusted as an institution by Kenyans.
Since you've referred to an existence of data,
yes,
according to Senator Mogeni's point of order,
yes,
are you able to substantiate by tabling those data so that?
Mr. Speaker, if you give me time, I'll bring you the Muzalendo data and show you just how much Senate is trusted across board in the country in terms of making sober decisions. And actually, I was calling to the conscience of my, because I know I might get a time to speak, and perhaps I need to bring him up. He just got in. I need to bring him back that we are discussing the gambling bill. And I wanted to tell him that as my senior, I was trying to appeal to his consciousness that this bill
Very
is
well,
so
Senator Eddie, you will substantiate by the next sitting.
Say, sure, I will do that. But I wanted to appeal to him as one of the senators that this bill around gambling, and especially predicated upon the idea that we are going to make some significant tax revenue from gambling, is indeed a bad bill, in the sense that you cannot predicate the idea of getting tax revenue from gambling when exponentially people will make more money than the taxes that you're getting, but the impact of the vices that you will have in the society. I was giving the senator an example that in my own community in Migori, there are a number of cases that have come to me of people going through depression. There are a number of cases that we have seen of people committing suicide after losing their basic assets. As simple asset as women selling goats to go gamble with. As simple asset as young people selling their motorbikes that they have saved over and over time, over 3 years, to purchase a motorbike, then they sell it to go and gamble with it, and then they end up losing everything that they had. The impact is so big that if it's not only for mental health disorders or in places whereby we have got suicidal cases where people have killed themselves actually because of this gambling problem, it also even furthers crime, Mr. Speaker. Because in a situation whereby a young person or even any other member of the society has lost their assets, have lost in this gambling, and even in some cases they have lost their jobs because of this gambling problem, what happens where somebody has got the mental stamina not to commit suicide? If they have lost all their assets, all they had, Mr. Speaker, what remains for them to be able to survive is to go into criminal activities, Mr. Speaker. And we see these vices over and over in the society. So, Mr. Speaker, I know there's temptation to try and regularize this bill to make it look like we're going to have a framework that will make sure that we encapsulate the entire gambling industry into a tax bracket. But I think that this is one of those areas that will dissuade us not to be excited about as a country, as a place to be able to get taxation. Because that taxation is regressive in the one hand, but most importantly, even if you're to collect as much money from it, you can never be able to use the same taxation to deal with the vices, the impact of the vices you have in the society. Where you are competing to be able to build roads, you will now be competing to build roads and to deal with the issue of mental disorder in the society. Where you are competing to build roads or to bring water with the same taxations, you will now even have another problem that you're not only dealing with giving people water, but also dealing with the crime that will come in the society, Mr. Speaker. But I can see that politicians might be excited about this because it is also an avenue for some dubious politicians. I'm not saying any particular politicians, but there are potential for dubious politicians to take advantage of this bill and have mushrooming companies for gambling so that it becomes a conduit for money laundering by the political class and other people who are outside of the political class, Mr. Speaker. This is something that I believe that as a House, we must be bold, we must be courageous, we must remain solid, we must be distinct in our decision as a House, that despite the fact that this bill has gone through a mediated process, this is a bill that we must kill as a House and make sure that we don't give a license to auction the future of our children. We don't give a license, Mr. Speaker, to auction the health care of our children, Mr. Speaker, by making sure that we now enable an avenue for serious mental disorder. And if we must consider as a country and be competitive in terms of looking at gambling legislations, Mr. Speaker, then I would wish this House the courage, because we are the House that is established under Article 96 of the Constitution, that is supposed to protect devolution. Let us then enhance the legislative capability of our counties to be able to handle things like gambling bills. So so that it is customized, that we only make sure that we don't touch into the unconstitutionality of gambling allowance into the country. But with regards to giving certification and legislation to operate and regulations, Mr. Speaker, why can't we, as a House, pass a bill that will enable counties to be able to determine this as an area for raising resources for specific services? Not all services, Mr. Speaker. Not even as a place for on-source revenue that goes into the baskets of taxation in the counties. Because that would also be tantamount to double taxation, Mr. Speaker. I would wish that we just come up with a legislation that allows counties to be able to look for those specific gambling activities in those counties and specific areas of gambling in those counties and specific taxation that is county level oriented, and it goes to specific services, after which you don't take it to the entire CRF of the county to deal with the entire on-source revenue issue. But as a national law, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you, having looked at the impact of gambling in countries that have made strides, countries that have got both the fortitude, not just the mental fortitude, but social fortitude to be able to deal with the vices of gambling, like the United States, like the countries in Europe, like in China, Mr. Speaker, having looked at the infrastructure that they've put in place to ensure that gambling doesn't collapse their countries, Mr. Speaker, we cannot afford to see this bill pass this House. And Mr. Speaker, I will work very hard, and I know there are some senators here who are very, very, very solid in terms of championing for, being able to whip people around. We will work very hard to make sure that, even I'm seeing Senator Sigais in the House, we will work together to make sure that we mobilize ourselves against this bill, that this House will not allow it to pass in this House, so that we make sure that gambling as a vice does not percolate in our society. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, you will start seeing with, these Gen Zs that we are now seeing not having employment opportunities, Mr. Speaker, they will find themselves that gambling is the only option that they must go to, and they're going into that gambling without money in it. They don't have the money. They will start borrowing from Peter and Tom and John to go and gamble with that money, and then more frustration will come where they have failed. Because the truth also is, out of the people who gamble, Mr. Speaker, not 2% of people who enter any bid end up winning that bid that they have entered, Mr. Speaker. So it means that when you have got a swath of young people who don't have employment, a sort of young people who don't have economic opportunities, a sort of young people who don't have opportunity for income generation, you leave them into trouble, Mr. Speaker, by allowing them to have alternative as only gambling, Mr. Speaker. I strongly oppose this bill, and I hope that my fellow colleagues will join me in making sure that it doesn't pass this House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Eddie. Senator Crystal Asige, and I do apologize for the fault on your consul. We were not able to see your name.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I appreciate that, and for the opportunity to speak briefly on the mediated version of the Gambling Control Bill. Speaker, first of all, this bill came through our committee, where I sit as the vice chair, which is the Labour Committee. And when we were considering this bill before it even went to mediation, Speaker, I, as a member of that committee, opposed a lot of the provisions that are in this bill. And also because the spirit of gambling, for me, Speaker, is not really a legislative endeavor. It, I feel, needs to be thought about more in a philosophical way. Speaker, across the world, you will see that, even this title, I find it to be a bit of a juxtaposed kind of a title, because it says gambling control. I don't believe that you can control gambling. And the world over, Speaker, you will see that there are countries who have either allowed gambling to happen or have completely refused for it to happen in their economies. But those who have tried a middle ground, like we are trying right now, have not been able to control gambling. as it implies in this title of the bill. Speaker, I think that we need to remember that prevention is better than cure. And a lot of the time, I have seen in this House, as well as our twin House in the National Assembly, look at problems in our society as something that can be legislated in black and white. But unfortunately, there are a lot of gray areas when it comes to gambling. I like what the previous speaker has said, which is that gambling follows vices. And I believe, Speaker, that that is the case for us here in Kenya. Because if you look at any reports or any pieces of data or research, which I have because I have interacted with this bill before in our committee, you will see that gambling follows quite specific vices in this country. Gambling is always targeted to vices such as abuse of alcohol and drugs. Gambling will target those who have vices around addiction of some kind. Of course, sports, Speaker. It also follows vices such as pornography, which nobody has spoken about here, or I haven't heard anyone speaking about the same. This is what gambling companies will always target, especially those who are online. They will target people who are into entertainment or sports. They will target those who are into drugs and alcohol. They will target those with any kind of addiction, mental health as well has been spoken about here, and they will target those who watch and enjoy porn. Mr. Speaker, there are reports as well that we saw when we were looking into this bill in our Labour Committee, which show that in Kenya, some of the highest usage of the internet lie in those very topics I have just mentioned. It's the top 10. In the top 10 are entertainment, sports, shopping, but in the top 3 is pornography. And Mr. Speaker, if we don't address these issues, the vices themselves, then we will never be able to control gambling. That is my fear, Speaker. And recently, in the last few months in this House, as I said, we keep legislating things that are the symptoms and not the actual core root of an issue. Recently, Speaker, we were trying to legislate around fundraising in churches and the like. And there are members in this House who actually said and opposed that bill because they said, how can you tax or try to regulate fundraising without looking at the reason why Kenyans feel like fundraising is their only hope to get through their problems? When somebody fundraises for a sick relative, we must not regulate the fundraising. We must ask, why does this person feel like the health system has failed them? When somebody is trying to fundraise, for example, for education or taking someone to university, you must not regulate that, but you must ask, why is this person feeling that the education system has failed them, and that's why they have to look into their family and friends and community to raise funds for education. Same principle for me, Speaker, lies here. Why are we trying to regulate gambling and try to put heavy restrictions or legislation on top of this issue, rather than actually dealing with the root cause of why people are privy or prey or run prey to gambling, which is the things that I've mentioned before. I think those are the issues that we need to really sit and think about, not just as legislators, but as thinkers, Mr. Speaker, because that's why we're here. We are apparently the most brilliant minds in the country, and that's why we have been put here to represent our people. And if we cannot sit and think about the root cause of our issues as a country, rather than always treating the symptoms and slapping a piece of legislation on top of it, then we will never, ever control anything. Nonetheless, gambling is my opinion, Speaker. And even if we go ahead
Senator Mungatana, Cherargei, and AD, please consult in low tones so that we can hear Senator Crystal. Proceed.
Thank you for protecting me from the members who are consulting. This is a very emotive subject, and I'm sure that they are busy discussing my submission as I speak. Thank you very much, Speaker. I want to just underscore and re-emphasize that we need to think about the root cause. curing that or preventing the root cause rather than thinking about how to cure it with a piece of paper and regulations. Speaker, even as a creative, let me speak from the perspective of a creative. We recently, in the last financial bill of last year that was thwarted by protests across the country, Speaker, there was a provision or a proposal to start taxing creatives, the creative industry. And creatives came out in large numbers to say, how can you tax us or regulate us when you haven't created an environment for us to even thrive in the first place? What are you going to tax out of us? Creatives said. And Speaker, that same idea, I will take it not literally, but there are similarities from that to this, which is, why would you want to tax a base of people who clearly are showing symptoms of issues that we have not solved as society? Rather than solving them, we are punishing them for being unemployed, for being addicted to alcohol or drugs or pornography, whatever the case might be, when we haven't actually sat down as thinkers and the most brilliant minds in the country and looked at the research and actually engaged with evidence-based legislation to then realize that, hey, this may not be the actual, or it may not be a sustainable solution to just write a piece of legislation. We need to actually go down to the base, to the core, to the bottom line, which is, why are our people feeling the need to continue to gamble their lives, their assets, their dreams, their possessions away, instead of looking for earnest work, looking to cure their mental illness, looking to address their addictions, looking to stop watching pornography. Mr. Speaker, for me, that is something that is poignant, and I had laid it out very clearly when we looked into this bill in the Labour Committee. It's still the case now, even though there is mediated version, which has not really addressed that same question, which is maybe philosophical, but still has to be answered by somebody. And I would have hoped that this mediated version or this committee would have addressed those kinds of issues rather than slapping us with yet another piece of legislation which may never, ever solve our problem and never bring any kind of control to gambling. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Andrew Omtata.
I'll be very brief and presidential. First of all, this is a bad bill. It is tackling a very, very technical area without any scientific study having preceded it. And that is why the problem is. The root cause of gambling is a misconception that it is a shortcut to making wealth. There's a shortcut to creating wealth. And in a country like Kenya now, where there is to make a shilling has become very difficult, you can see the way this thing has mushroomed across. And maybe we may need to withdraw this bill, have a proper study on what is driving this issue, and then come up with scientific solutions. When I look through this bill, I don't see anything that is scientific about it, and I don't see any solution proffered. Yes, there's need for regulation, but by doing what? There's need for education, but by doing what? There's need for so many interventions, but by doing what? So I think, Mr. Speaker, this bill, though a good idea, but it's not being done well. And as a student of St. Thomas Aquinas, yes, my position is that if something is worth doing, it's worth doing well. This bill is badly done, though we need an intervention in the problems facing us with gambling, but this bill is not the solution. Senator Mungatana did not support the bill. He recognized that there was a bill, but I didn't say he did not support it. He recognized that there was a bill. And for me, Mr. Speaker, in the absence of a serious study, we are really groping in the dark, and we are likely to make a bad situation worse, thinking that we are doing something to improve it. So I would say that this bill be withdrawn, and a proper study be conducted by the state. Then, from that study, the state can bring us a bill that can address the issues in the industry. Because you have seen even situations like, if you look at all the adverts on gambling, when you look at all the adverts on gambling, they promise quick wealth. Yes. They don't promise anything else. It's not refreshing your mind, it's not a pastime, but you're going to get rich at the end of the day. As they say, leo hustler, kesho sonko, kind of transformations. So I would pray that this bill be withdrawn, or if it's not withdrawn, we vote it out, and then give that, they leave the door open for a better, well-resourced, well-researched, and well-reasoned bill to come before us, one that can then exercise our minds. Really, right now, we are just not well informed to make a decision. And with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I personally reject the bill. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, there being no other senators wishing to contribute, I call the mover to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to appreciate the following colleagues who have contributed to this bill: Senator Cherargei, Senator Faki, Senator Mungatana, Senator Ledama Olekina, the majority leader of this House, Senator Aaron Cheriot, Senator Eddie Okech, Senator Crystal Asige, and last but not least, the Honorable Senator Okia Omtata. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the mover of this motion, the Honorable Senator Chesang, I would like to echo largely what part of the sentiments by the colleagues who've talked into this bill, to the extent that we are living in a global society, Mr. Speaker, and we will not bury our heads in the sand to say that gambling and betting related activities do not happen. It might be a tall order to say we will largely manage to regulate the process, but Mr. Speaker, we must start from somewhere. And where we are is the beginning of that decision to try to regulate and to try to make it at least be something that we can speak about and regulate by making sure that this law passes. This law, Mr. Speaker, is not only about gambling. It's got so many other aspects in it. We are aware that we've got the National Lottery Act of 2023, that this law speaks to it. We've got so many other regulations. And what the amended version of this, or rather mediated version of this law, Mr. Speaker, is trying to achieve is to enhance. Mr. Speaker, could you kindly protect me from...
Allow Senator Sigei to make his submissions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that protection.
You're distracting him.
What I wanted to say, Mr. Speaker, is that what we are desiring to do in this mediated version of the bill is to ensure that we strengthen the regulation, the penalties that are going to be meted upon those who, for instance, participate or be involved in activities gambling without the license. For example, Mr. Speaker, we have in the mediated version of the bill enhanced the penalty in form of penalties or fine that one can be imposed to over 3 million Kenya shillings and 5 million Kenya shillings, which is an improvement from what previously existed, because without any fine or any penalty, of course, Mr. Speaker, no one will see any reason to be deterred from conducting activities gambling without the license. Mr. Speaker, earlier on, the Honorable Senator Cherargei, which is what I wanted to inform him, and I'd like to take the opportunity to correct the misrepresentation that the particular timelines within which not timeline, sorry, but the amount that one can bet on is not 1 shilling. In fact, the committee, Mr. Speaker, enhanced the amount to Kenya shillings 20 as a means of ensuring that whoever participates in gambling must be someone who would obviously be someone of age, because if you reduce it to Kenya shillings 1, every other person, including young children, can access that amount and can gamble with it. And Mr. Speaker, in terms of the timelines that the bill provides for advertisements by the media houses, the watershed moments is, Mr. Speaker, between 10 p.m. in the night and 5 a.m. That serves the purpose that the Honorable Senator Cherargei and the rest of my colleagues who said that we regulate, because if we don't do it, it's still going on. And we are living in a global society, Mr. Speaker, where although we would want to discourage as much as possible our young ones because of mental effects of gambling and also the consequences that comes with it, we cannot run away from the fact that this is a global thing that other regimes have attempted to regulate but have not been able to. This is an opportunity that we've gotten. And although we have not been able to ensure that we get to the right situation which members would have desired in terms of regulation, it is an attempt that going forward we have enacted a law that will give us a platform either to continuously improve that law so that we at the end of the day are able to speak to a regulated activity, which in this case will enhance also the support that we are saying, discourage Kenyans, discourage everyone else from undertaking such vices. But for those who have already been put into this, not necessarily residents within Kenya, but those who are outside, but online, and they are Kenyans whom we must also speak to, we are able to support them in a manner that this law is trying to do. We are legislating for posterity, Mr. Speaker. We are not legislating merely because we've got to do it, such that even if we are not supporting gambling, there must be a law in place. And that is exactly what we are saying. Notwithstanding our differences, our challenges with this particular activity, we must have a law in place. And so, even as I reply, I want to urge the honorable members of this House to support it. And for those improvements that we are saying we need to make, it gives us a room to amend the law. And in the process of amending the law, we also go beyond the law itself and create an environment that will help Kenyans, those who are gambling, those who have been addicted, those who have been affected by gambling activities, to also get an opportunity to undertake an understanding of how else can they exit the vice, rather than just saying we do not want it, we do not want the law, yet the law, or rather gambling in itself, is existing, it's cutting across, and it cannot be ignored. And that is why I want to encourage members to support. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to support, and pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 663, I request to defer putting of the question to a later date. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Putting of the question has been deferred. Honorable Senators, looking at the order paper, we will have to defer order number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Clerk, call the next order.
Order number 18, the county government's additional allocations. Number 2, bill, Senate bills number 8 of 2025. Second reading, resumption of debate.
Senator Mungatana, I think you were on the floor of the House when this matter was being debated. You have a remainder of 12 minutes to continue with your submission.
I think Senator Sige is saying something. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. use this one. Can I be given this? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was on my feet yesterday seconding the bill that had been moved by Honorable, our Chief Whip, Senator Mheshimiwa Boni Khalwale. And Mr. Speaker, I was at the point where I said this bill has 12 clauses. And the last clause talks about criminalization of financial misconduct. And this is criminalization of those officers who are told, Senate has given this schedule, and you are supposed to abide by this schedule so that the counties can get their money on time, and they don't do it, and they don't have any consequences. Mr. Speaker, I was saying, as I second this bill, that it is my hope and sincere hope that in this financial year that we are starting, when these violations are gross, then the responsible officers who delay the funding of counties, Mr. Speaker, who refuse to follow what the Senate has said as far as funding of county timeously is concerned, there will be criminal consequences for them as envisaged in this county government additional allocation bill that we are passing today. Mr. Speaker, those who are listening to me, they must know that in the Senate we provide three main ways in which we fund county government activities. The first one is the equitable fund, the equitable share that comes to them. The second one is the equalization fund that we have passed, and we were debating it here yesterday, and we're waiting to vote on it. And this is the third one, where we pass the county government's additional allocations that are supposed to go to the county government. Mr. Speaker, in these additional allocations, we have two main categories. The first is the unconditional additional allocation. And these ones, the funds that come from the unconditional additional allocations to the counties, they come from revenues that have been collected from the courts and the court fines. When any county passes its laws and there is a contravention of those laws, the counties are supposed to put fines on those people who contravene their laws so that they can generate wealth. This money is collected and is put together, and when we pass here, every county is given its share. So I needed to say this very quickly, that counties that have not developed their own version of city courts, because like here in Nairobi, we have what we call city court. In the city court, when you are found by the county askaris that you haven't paid your licenses and all that, they will take you and fine you there, and you pay so that the county government then creates a source of fund. I'm saying this to all Kenyans and to all county governments. Please develop the court systems in your counties, because there are counties that are not supporting the collection of these revenues. And as a result, Mr. Speaker, you will find very little money coming as collection back to the county revenue fund. Mr. Speaker, the other issue that is under this, that is the unconditional allocation of funds from this bill. This one comes from the 20% revenues of the royalties that have been collected across the country. Mr. Speaker, we want, and I want to use this opportunity to request that all the counties that have minerals and other resources that come from the ground, which can be mined, we are asking the minister in charge of this, the Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, to do what he can within his powers to make sure that these resources are developed. And I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because in Tana River County, for example, when the minister took over, he said that the gypsum mining in that county is not controlled, and he suspended everything. And Mr. Speaker, what that means is that there's no gypsum mining activities going on. Now, if the minister does not create a framework in which that mining can go on, then it means the royalties that we are expecting to get from this unconditional remittance of funds back to the county will be reduced. So I'm asking through this platform that you create the regulatory framework and help the people of Tana River to get back to that resource exploitation in an organized manner, because it was not very organized at the beginning, and that's why we supported your move to suspend the mining activities. But we want to go back, because this is one of the sources of unconditional transfers of monies back to the county. And Mr. Speaker, there is another problem at the Treasury, which we are asking the minister to also look at. Treasury for a very long time keeps on giving excuses when it comes to remittances of these 20% royalties back to counties. You will find that it becomes very difficult, for example, for Taita Taveta County, for Kwale County, even for Tana River County, to access the monies that are supposed to be coming from royalties. Mr. Speaker, even Kilifi County, these are the coastal counties that have mineral resources. And Mr. Speaker, you will find that Treasury continuously creates hurdle after hurdle. Even when we have passed it here in the Senate, and we are saying that the 20% mineral royalty share must come to the counties, they create hurdles and make it difficult for counties. Mr. Speaker, in this financial year 2025-2026, as we pass this law, we want to ask the Treasury, please do the right thing. Stop frustrating counties. When this schedule that we have passed, and it is passed and it becomes law, you should be able to obey it and give the counties what they deserve in terms of their funds. Mr. Speaker, I have said that these government additional allocations, they come through the unconditional, and number two, through the conditional grants that are supposed to come to the counties. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocations that come to the counties are in two portions. The first portion is the conditional allocations that the national government gives to counties, so that the share of the counties from the revenues of the government are accessed to these counties, so that although these monies have been allocated to the national government, they are actually transferred back to the to the county governments. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to urge that we treat this bill with the seriousness that it deserves, and we fast track it. Why I say this is because the national government will not release the monies to the counties that belong to money that was sent for doctors. The arrears of monies payable to doctors through the collective bargaining agreement, those who have not been paid, it is contained in this bill. That's why we need to hurry up and pass it. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocation for the community health promoters, the CHPs, is also contained in this bill. So that, Mr. Speaker, the monies that the national government, the portion, the share that the national government is supposed to give is also contained in this bill. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocation for the construction of county headquarters, which include county headquarters like Tana River, Nyandarua, Lamu, and the other two, are contained in this bill. So the national government, through this bill, after we pass it, will be now in a position to transfer these funds to the relevant county government. And these amounts are contained in Schedule 2 of this bill. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocations to the county aggregated and industrial park program that is set out in column D is also contained in these funds, in this bill. Mr. Speaker, you will remember that the president during his campaigns, he had said that every county must have an industrial park, and each industrial park will be sponsored partly by the government, national government share, and there will be also a share by the county governments. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, there are counties that have not been able to do their industrial parks. And the reason is that these funds have not been released to them. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm urging honorable members and colleagues here that we do what we can to vote this bill as fast as we can, so that these funds, these conditional grants from the national government, especially to counties like ourselves, where we are supposed to get the headquarters, and other counties, that these monies will be fast-tracked, the national government will be able to release these funds, and they will be able to be utilized by county governments. Mr. Speaker, as I take my seat, I urge colleagues that when it comes to these funds, our county governments are waiting for them. We should do everything possible to pass this as we put a caution on our governors across the country.
Thank you. Your time is up, Senator. Thank you. Honorable Senators, I will now propose the question that the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill number 2, Senate Bills number 8 of 2025, be now read a second time. Senator Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill, Mr. Speaker, the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill. An important bill which we must give history for our colleagues to recall and remember how it came about. You know, yesterday I got into a lot of trouble, Mr. Speaker, for relaying very useful information which I thought would have helped one of our colleagues here. And they said, while they disagree with it, they went to say many other things. But I think history is important, Mr. Speaker, and people must understand the perspective. I continue to be proud of the work that we did in the Budget and Finance Committee in the time when I was a member in the last two Senates, Mr. Speaker. This is one of the signature bills of that committee. And the thinking, I don't know if members do know this, is that many times in this space of conditional and unconditional grants to our county governments, Mr. Speaker, they used to be unregulated. And therefore, what will happen is that you'll find that some mandarins will sit at Treasury and decide that there is an international agency like Danida, which has come, and they would say, oh, we want to support a particular thematic area with regards to county governments. Therefore, the mandarins in Treasury, Mr. Speaker. I don't know who they are, but I just hear there are mandarins there. I thought my interaction with them has left me with a good impression that they're just good citizens. But anyway, I'm just being your average Kenyan, Mr. Speaker. So they would determine where to place those projects. And many times, we found out that those projects were specifically positioned in certain counties with no regards to any scientific evidence, Mr. Speaker, or framework of where to follow. So you'd say, oh, we want to pilot. In fact, the easiest way to do it they would say that we are piloting this project. And do you realize that the piloting phase will always be done in particular counties? And there are counties which stood absolutely no chance, especially those that come from regions that were considered to be politically incorrect at the time, Mr. Speaker. And so we sat down as a committee and we said, this is actually us who have derelicted on duty. We checked out on the people that sent us to Parliament, and that's why these things are happening. And so from around the year 2020 or 21, I don't recall the specific year, we said even additional allocation to the county governments, Mr. Speaker, must pass through a particular framework. And that is the basis upon which you have this county government additional allocation bill, Mr. Speaker. It's a subset of CARA, but only that it carries any other additional resources that are going to our county governments, Mr. Speaker, and the justification being provided therein, so that you are able to read and understand, Mr. Speaker, and appreciate that this is the amount, this is why this county is getting, this is why this county is not getting. Like Senator Mungatana, who seconded this bill, mentioned, for example, if there is no mineral activity of note in your county, then you don't expect to benefit anything from the, I think in this year's additional allocation, Mr. Speaker, is for mineral rights, actually, Mr. Speaker, is 2.93 billion. And this is money that has accrued from 2016. You know, sometimes I get surprised, Senator Mungatana. People tell us, oh, this administration doesn't care for devolution. If those that were there previously cared for devolution, why did money from the mineral rights stay in the coffers of the National Treasury from 2016 up to date, Senator Mungatana? Why is it that it is only in this financial year that we are eventually saying what doesn't belong to the national government, send it to the counties? And additionally, many other funds that are listed. This is part of the 20% share of the mineral royalties that is due to counties as per Section 183.5 of the Mining Act, Cap 306, which stipulates that 20% of mineral royalties will be paid to the state shall accrue to the county government where the mining operations occur. And it should be of interest to you, Senator Mungatana, I think even Senator Umtata, even Cherargei, Senator, there is significant mining activity in your county. It is important that we put proper framework for that particular space. There is a lot of artisanal mining activities across the western belt. If you overfly Busia, Migori, Siaya, Kisumu, you'll see some round holes with water filled inside. Then some young men will be running around there with sacks, trying to shake them the whole day and saying that eventually they will get some piece of gold. As leaders, we ought to be concerned and say we cannot allow our people to live like this 60 years after independence. And I appreciate Senator Boni Halwale doesn't mention this. Nowadays, he has conveniently forgotten, and he's not here. That initially, in his good days, before certain things happened, which I'm yet to know, he would always remind us that the largest gold refinery ever built in the Republic of Kenya is being built in Ikolomani, not Kakamega, Ikolomani, where he comes from. But nonetheless, that while that is being done, the same needs to be replicated across all our counties, actually, that have presence of minerals, Mr. Speaker, because this 20% from the mineral rights, Mr. Speaker, is a significant amount of money. And if we are able to grow that sector, Mr. Speaker, and ensure that it earns the country a significant amount, because it's not for lack of good amount of minerals, Mr. Speaker, that Mr. Speaker, that our country doesn't have a mature mining subsector. It is a fact that we have not created a proper regulation of that environment to attract investment. If you want to carry out significant, why all the serious players in the mining sector will never come to a country like Kenya, Mr. Speaker, is because of the difficulties that it will take. First of all, to secure community rights is a problem. Senator Eddie will show up with his sangwenyas and say, oh, this land belongs to us. This man cannot mine until, I don't know, they do this. Then Cherargei will also come with his demands to the new investor. Until we get to a point of appreciating that no investor will come into our country where the laws don't protect them and therefore provide a clear path for them to recoup their investment, Mr. Speaker, we are never going to develop this particular sector. We must clean up the Mining Act, Mr. Speaker, so that we make it business friendly. We make it possible to attract the big players in the mining sector globally, Mr. Speaker. The minute they will appreciate and they will know that this is a country governed by the rule of law, and as an investor, my rights are protected, then they will invest here and they will be able to provide opportunity in terms of employment and even resources, Mr. Speaker, to both the county and the national government, Mr. Speaker. I was just speaking about that 20% share of the mineral rights because it's part and parcel of what our counties are benefiting from. It's only a paltry 2.9 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. And like I've mentioned, this is a crude amount for a significant number of years, which tells you that if you want to know how much was paid as mineral royalties for the last, I don't know how many number of years, you just need to multiply that figure by 5 times. It gives you almost 15 billion shillings. I believe strongly that the country can earn upwards, perhaps even 10 times of that particular figure. And that is a challenge that we must pose to the new leadership at the helm of the Ministry of Mining. The Cabinet Secretary must give us a roadmap. You heard what Senator Mungatana said about gypsum, Mr. Speaker. That is actually driving up the cost of cement, because now people, the minute we banned the mining of gypsum locally, Mr. Speaker, people have to import from countries as far as Tanzania. And it's not that we don't have that raw material available in the country. It is just because we cannot agree on how to run that particular trade. How long does it take the Ministry of Mining to make the decision? You register. Those that have got sites, sign up their contracts with their forwarding contracts with where they are taking those minerals, Mr. Speaker. If we continue to take the length of time that you are taking to make those decisions, no investor will invest in this particular sector. The bill in total, Mr. Speaker, distributes close to 70 billion across our counties, Mr. Speaker, which includes even money in form of court fines, Mr. Speaker, which is 9.95, actually 9.9, I'm struggling to get the exact figure. Oh yeah, the 2.95 actually is from court fines and mineral royalties. There is 9.95 billion from the national government share of the second schedule and 5.9 from proceeds of loans and grants from development partners, which is the third schedule. All these things that are listed, and you know them. There are quite a number of them. And I have always questioned, why do these loans and grants, Mr. Speaker, take the form and shape that they take? There is even a proposal also on the community health promoters, 3.24 billion, Mr. Speaker. There is 454 million to 5 counties. I must register my disappointment, Mr. Speaker. You know, it was a very difficult task, I remember, here in 2016, to convince the House to build headquarters for 5 counties: Isiolo, Nyandarua, Tana River, Lamu, and I don't know which other one. Tharaka Nithi, actually. And there was a debate in the House because people say, we have needs also in our own county. But then good reason prevailed, and people agreed and said, given that these counties actually did not have district headquarters back in the day, they don't have even basic infrastructure to set up. And therefore, over the years, we have continued to pay. It has taken inordinately long to complete that payment, Mr. Speaker. But I was disturbed that recently, it was just 2 days after we had made the decision to add Nyandarua, 1 into the list of the counties that are benefiting under the affirmative action. You remember there were 12 counties that we created that were getting less than 6 billion shillings, and we said we need to find a way of bringing them closer to the rest of the counties, and therefore we developed a list of 20 counties and built it into the formula, the 4th generation formula that is now available. So it's the second time that Nyandarua is benefiting from an affirmative action exercise, and I wish Senator Methu was here when I'm speaking about this, because I have a message for him individually as a leader and for the people of Nyandarua. Then secondly, you have seen that that was not the first time. They are benefiting from this 454 million. When we had demonstrations recently, a whooping, I think, 35 county governments' vehicles, together with the same headquarters that we had given to them under affirmative action, was raised down by protesters, Mr. Speaker. So you receive support from the rest of the country, that they appreciate that you have unique challenges. Then in the spirit of madness that captures and is urged on by certain lost characters, Mr. Speaker, clever by half fools who think that by inciting young people to burn around their country, they'll pass a message of dissatisfaction, you burn the entire building together with 40 vehicles. That was really unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. Yet, these are part of the resources that we are distributing. There's also money to KIPES. You remember there are counties that had not benefited equally. This is the 250 share contribution. I am not sure, and the Vice Chair is here of Budget and Finance Committee. I'm not sure whether this 4.5 billion now clears the list of the remaining counties. Because remember last financial year, I think about 30 counties benefited, and there were 17 that were to benefit, Mr. Speaker. It is my hope and assumption that now we will complete that business, because there are counties where the contractor has done significant amount of work, but they cannot move beyond where they have reached because the counties have exhausted their counterpart funding. Remember, the county governments were to contribute 250, and the national government was to give another 450. So it is my hope that those 18 counties that had been left behind, actually I've seen it in paragraph 22 of the report, that those 18 counties that were remaining, I was saying that because I know Kericho was part of the 18 counties, that this is actually money to those 18 counties. There is also, Mr. Speaker, funds that are being allocated, and these are the various programs. Senator Manzo and my colleagues, we have to do something about these various donor-funded projects in our county. If we don't keep an eye, Senator Mtata, and we continue to have, now in this list, there are about 10 different programs that are being implemented by donor agencies in our counties, some by grants and some by even loans. They come with unique propositions. You can only do this, use these funds to do particular programs. If we don't keep a keen eye, then you'll get to a point where you will lose track of the number of programs actually that are being run in your own county, and that fund will be misused. For example, when the first one of the slum upgrade program came about, you remember what many county governments did? They went to the nearest slum that is possible and gave contractors who did not know even how to lay a centimeter of tarmac. But because they had finally been granted an opportunity to lay tarmac in the name of upgrading a slum, Mr. Speaker, some even mixed dust with black waste oil and burnt it on the road, saying that there's a new tarmac road that has been built here. Within a few months of the long rains, for those of us that come from areas where there is long rains, the whole supposedly quote-unquote tarmac had been washed away because of programs that are conceptualized here in Nairobi by people in treasury, people who sit in high offices in the form of donors, Mr. Speaker, and they want to work directly with our counties with very little involvement in the Senate. The members of the Budget and Finance Committee, Senator Tabitha, you're here as a Vice Chair, you will have let down the country if you don't call to order the Treasury to give you, one, the feasibility studies that are done across all the 47 counties before signing up for all these programs that are listed here, and the justification why this program needs to run in our counties. I'd rather, Mr. Speaker, because part of the reason why Kenyans chose devolution in 2010, Mr. Speaker, they chose self-governance. I'd rather we put those funds in the hands of our county governments and let the people decide through their representatives in the county assembly and the governors that they elect on what are their priority areas. If you read this report by our colleagues, from paragraph 27, there is Sijui Aquaculture Business Development Program, 200 million. IDA, this is World Bank, and on this thing they call FLOCA, Financially Locally Led Climate Action Program. I don't know how much, 121 million. There's another one by IDA, part of the FLOCA, a grant of 6.2 billion. You know, there is KFW, German Development Corporation, also on FLOCA, 1.2 billion with 16 counties. No direction specifically on how those 16 counties were agreed upon. There's another one for Food System Resilience Program. It is funded by IDA. This is the development agency of the World Bank, 3.2 billion. Drought Resilient Program for Northern Kenya by the German Development Bank, KFW, 1.28 billion. Second, this one that I'm talking about, Kenya Devolution Support Program. One is a grant of 1.762 to all the 47 counties and others. Then there is a Kenya Devolution Support Program Phase 2. This one now is not a grant, 13 billion shillings. Kenya Livestock Commercialization, Kenya Urban Support Program, Kenya Urban Support Program. I think all the way there is the NIDA for primary health, water and sanitation. You know, Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Program, 1 billion Kenya shillings. Kenya Informal, this is the one that I mentioned earlier, by World Bank, 840 million. About 20 different programs that are being run. But if you ask the members of Budget and Finance Committee to explain to us as a house, what was the conceptualization of this program? What is the justification that are county specific to ensure that each and every county provided sufficient justification to say we need to do some climate action. We need to improve our livestock. We need to improve, Mr. Speaker, our informal settlement. Some counties, like where I come from, and even this Senator Cherargei, there is nothing of significance that you can call a slum. 2, 3, or 400, 500 people living in some former settlement at a corner in the county does not qualify and does not pass for an informal settlement. That money can be put to more prudent use. I wish we had turned those resources into agriculture farm support program so that we support either our tea or our sugarcane farmers. We'll get more value out of it as a country and as a county, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, these programs, unless there is proper justification that is provided to us here in the Senate, as a custodian of the interest of county governments and its people, Mr. Speaker, we need to make a decision before the next financial year. We can let these ones pass because we have already made a decision about it, but there needs to be a better, Mr. Speaker, administration of this space. And maybe at the next joint retreat of the House, Mr. Speaker, we can invite the partners that are running all these programs to explain to us and help us appreciate what is their thinking so that we equally share our feedback with them. I don't want to take long than that, Mr. Speaker, because I know many of you want to speak on this topic, but I register my appreciation with the industry of the committee and request that we support them and conclude on this very important piece of legislation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Aaron Cheruiyot. I will call upon Senator Samson Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for this opportunity. I think we have spoken to most of these bills, especially in the process of from division of revenue. So, Speaker, I think one of the critical roles of the Senate is what we are doing today. Under Article 96, the role of the Senate is to protect devolution. And one way of protecting devolution, Mr. Speaker, sir, is allocating sufficient resources. Because the role of the Senate for the benefit of your guests at the gallery is one is to protect devolution, to do representation, to do oversight, and of course budget making process which they are privileged to watch from the gallery, Mr. Speaker, sir. And on this, the county government's additional allocation number 2, Bill of 2025, Mr. Speaker, emanates from Article 202 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, where these additional funds can be conditional or unconditional, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, unlike Article 210, where it talks about at least 15% of total latest outdated, latest audited national revenue. And Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to the National Assembly to fast track the auditing of the latest revenue so that we are getting, Mr. Speaker, I want to insist and I want to repeat up to time, Mr. Speaker, that it doesn't make sense that the national budget is 4.2 trillion, yet we are allocating 415 billion only to counties. And you are aware, Mr. Speaker, counties are choking on their own weight of what we call wage bill. I think the highest county was Kisii, with almost 56–58%, Mr. Speaker, that goes only to the wage bill. Nandi is a foregone story, where your friend is spending over 4 billion Kenyan shillings in terms of wage bill, yet the allocation comes to around 8 billion, Mr. Speaker. That is why the people of Nandi now cannot access markets. The roads are totally impassable. I saw a number of local artists which we are familiar with. Some of them were slipping and falling down during the Jantex homecoming in Cherondo. Mr. Speaker, and a number of them like DJ Kaptula, Araburia, Koima, among others, bore the brand. And you know we are blessed just like Bomet with a lot of rains, Mr. Speaker. And there are so many stall projects, Mr. Speaker, in Nandi, for example, Kapsengere Health Center, Kobujoy Health Center, Mr. Speaker, which is a stone throw away from the governor's home. We have one in Chepterwai, which has stall Nyai Ward, Mr. Speaker, and a number of stall projects, Mr. Speaker, even in Nandi Hills, a stadium, which whenever it rains, Mr. Speaker, the Nandi Hills Stadium normally is flooded with water because that stadium has never been fixed by the county government. Mr. Speaker, I did receive a report from Controller Budget, and all the money that was allocated to county government of Nandi had been dispersed by 30th June 2025, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the point I'm making is that we need to see value for money. It cannot be, Mr. Speaker, that we are using so much energy at the floor of the House. Yet, a lot of resources are not going to the intended purposes, Mr. Speaker. We are seeing the people of Nandi cannot access roads from all the way from Sangalo, the 6 sub-counties, Mr. Speaker. There is still a big challenge that most of the roads remain impassable at the moment. Not only national roads, but also county or what we call feeder roads, Mr. Speaker, where the standard of doing road in Nandi is there is only grading. They don't do maraming, Mr. Speaker. They don't do drainage. They don't do culverting, Mr. Speaker. And I know for the region where we experience a lot of rains, Mr. Speaker, that is affecting us. Because now when we have milk, we have tea, we have cane to deliver to the market, we can't deliver because roads remain impassable. And you remember Bomet and Nandi, we have cess that should be used to fix some of these roads, especially in Nandi sub-county, Aldai sub-county, Mr. Speaker, Aldai sub-county. Virtually the entire of Nandi is planting tea. So that continues. And this money, Mr. Speaker, before I go to the substratum of my contribution, this money is not sadaka. It's not tithe and offering to governors to use them to show the largesse of power, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is very embarrassing that as we speak today, Mr. Speaker, there are people who are assigned to carry governor's seat or even toilets around, Mr. Speaker, for the comfort of the governor. Yet, most of people do not access drugs, for example, in Kapsabet County Referral Hospital, or a number of dispensaries and county, even Mosoria sub-county, Mr. Speaker. Yet there is money for governors to move around, carrying their seats I don't know whether when governors sit, that seat that belongs to the governor, I don't know whether sitting position will change, or does it have a massage, those seats that governors carry. And my governor is fond of carrying such seats around. I don't know whether it has a massage machine that massages somebody when they sit. So Speaker, they carry toilets, VIP toilets around. I don't know. Yet you are carrying those things where even wananchi or even a local ECD, like in Timobo, Mr. Speaker, do not have a functional ECD, or Kapkeringan, Mr. Speaker, somewhere in sub-county. So this money is not meant to make governors look good. This money is to give county governments to perform, including county assemblies, Mr. Speaker. So the point I'm trying to make, Mr. Speaker, as the headlight is the issue also we want to challenge, Mr. Speaker. I saw a report today in one of the media stations, and I'm happy, Senator, and I'm happy to see my chair of public accounts. He has been as rare as a snowball in hell in this house, Mr. Speaker, but it's good to see me. Yes, Mr. Speaker. And even he looks radiant. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy one of the notorious litigants and the presidential candidate, Senator Okiya Omtata, is in the House. And I want to inform him that there is a report that has shown that Kenyans are losing confidence with EACC in the fight against corruption in this country. Because, Mr. Speaker, as we talk today, and I said, and I don't fear to contradict myself, Mr. Speaker, in the last session, when EACC appeared, then they had only done a conviction of 20,000 shillings. We see largesse, Mr. Speaker, when you go to upmarket estates. So, Speaker, when you go to upmarket estates in this city, you find most of the buildings, modern homes that are being built within the renowned estates in this country, Mr. Speaker, comes from people connected to county governments, including allegedly governors, Mr. Speaker. In fact, some governors no longer stay in their home counties. They perambulate and calavent within the city, Mr. Speaker. Yet there are people, there are governors who are running, Mr. Speaker, their counties through remote control, Mr. Speaker. And I want to inform my chair of PAC, he knows those governors. I don't know whether he is exempted, Mr. Speaker. They remote control, Mr. Speaker. And these governors predominantly, Mr. Speaker, most of them come from northern part of this country, especially northeastern. Most of the governors from northern Kenya, Mr. Speaker, are remote controlling their counties from here. You remember the incident of Garissa, Mr. Speaker, when there was a breakout of fire in Masjid Market, Mr. Speaker, that almost spread to Garissa County Referral Hospital. The people who were controlling the firefighting machines don't know even how to operate, Mr. Speaker. Yet we are sending billions and billions of shillings, Mr. Speaker. Even my governor, Mr. Speaker, in the financial year of 2024-2025, he had the audacity of using a car hire services of 42 million, Mr. Speaker. Yet the children of Nandi are yet to receive bursaries, Mr. Speaker. Yet it is very paradox and insult that we tax Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, but they don't see that value in the service provision. We saw what happened in Twenwek Hospital, Mr. Speaker. It is a very sad story that my governor, and this is an audit general report of 2024-2025, used 42 million whipping to do car hire services. Yet in 2013, Mr. Speaker, the county government of Nandi purchased motor vehicles to be used in official functions, Mr. Speaker. And most of those vehicles that belong to Nandi County government, Mr. Speaker, are only missing a battery, service, tires. But the governor uses, if this is not abuse of government resources, then what is an abuse, Mr. Speaker? When you are using 42 million to do car services, Mr. Speaker. Yet the roads remain impassable, Mr. Speaker. So we want to appeal to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to come out, Mr. Speaker, 4 billion, which is almost 40% to 50% of the money we allocate, Mr. Speaker, that goes to Nandi. 4 billion Kenya shillings is consumed through wage bill. Mr. Speaker, and you are aware, I'm happy you are a man who is always alive in the current affairs. You remember EACC did an impromptu rat matters, Mr. Speaker, abracadabra, and visited Kapsabet County headquarters, took away computers, took away payroll records. Mr. Speaker, up to today, they have never even arrested a rat. Even a rat, Mr. Speaker, they have never arrested. Yet you are telling us they are serious in fighting against corruption. Yet you can tell who are the ghost workers. It is easy to trace that from Nandi County CRF account, the money went to the payroll. These are the fake, Mr. Speaker, including the people who are close to the governor with close blood consanguinity, Mr. Speaker. Yet no one has been arrested up to date, Mr. Speaker. We want to see action. And that is why my challenge to EACC today, know that Kenyans have lost trust in your fight against corruption in this country, Mr. Speaker. I met a colleagues from National Assembly, and I know colleagues are aware of the issue of national government, the constitutional amendment to entrench CDF, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say we are not, personally, I'm not interested with Senate Oversight Fund. I want the capacity and ability and functionality of the Senate be broadened, including veto of bills, Mr. Speaker. And they were telling us, no, you know, CDF is working more effectively than county government funds because you have allowed governors to misuse funds, Mr. Speaker. And they say before you kill a dog, you must give it a bad name. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we are having a challenge because we are now the issue, and I know my chair of PAC is in the House, including the vice chair of PIC. Mr. Speaker, the only time we appropriate this money is now. Then we come morticians. We come at the tail end. There is a weak link in terms of accountability of these resources. And that is why I come where MCAs must, because they are the ones who will go in Bomet County Assembly, led by Speaker Cosmas Korir, will appropriate, Mr. Speaker, MCAs in Migori, MCAs in Mutembei, MCAs in Busia. I don't know whether the presidential candidate still goes to Busia because the last time he went there, he came home. He came back to Nairobi under the rain of stones. And I don't know, Mr. Speaker, you know, I think in this country, Mr. Speaker, we need to, when you declare your interest to run for presidency, your security detail should be enhanced because that is what happens in the Western world, Mr. Speaker. So those MCAs, Mr. Speaker, they must sit down and appropriate because the moment Vice Chair of PIC and Chair of Roads and Transport, this gentleman, Senator Kishero, must be very powerful in this session because he's the Vice Chair of PIC and he's also the Chair of Roads and Transport. He's doing a good job, Mr. Speaker. The only time PIC will come and see is when they are doing morticians. My chair, Senator Moses Kajwang, one of the ranking members, Mr. Speaker, and in fact, in future going, the way the senators of United States of America, when you are ranking, I think Senator Kajwang should be, the E-seat should be marked ranking member. Mr. Speaker, he knows the only time we come and interact with the issues of Nandi is when we are doing a post-mortem. We are now morticians. We can't salvage anything. Even when I'm talking about car hire services of 42 million, those guys have been paid. If we wanted to ask whether that money is prudent or not, how will we ask, Mr. Speaker? Even the investigation that is ongoing in Bomet, these people come at the tail end as morticians. There is nothing you can do. We'll just diagnose and say this is, and PIC just will write a report, the Public Investment Committee of the Senate, they will table a report. We'll make a recommendation. EACC will look at our recommendation as if it is a love letter recommendation. They'll just look at it as it's a flowers we are giving to them. They will ignore. And that is why I want to appeal to Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, the sad reality. And Kenyans must accept this. The much Parliament can do is to recommend. You know, whenever I walk, I was in Kapchepsir, I was in Naldai, I was in Mosop over the last weekend, Mr. Speaker. You meet one inch and they are telling you, Senator, the money has been lost, we don't see roads. But the only thing we can do is only to recommend. Unless Kenyans will go to the Constitution and amend and give powers, Senate to arrest and prosecute and detain. Maybe that one will be resolved, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, on another issue of additional funds, and I want to issue on the issue of royal mandaries, I know Senator Eddy also asks minerals, we are getting 55 million. But the sad reality, I want to challenge the Committee on Finance and Budget, Mr. Speaker, led by able Vice Chair, Senator Mutinda, and I saw her I don't know whether Karen Yam was with the president in Nairobi tour. That said, yes, both of you were with the president, and it is good you are standing with him. I know the absence of Nairobi senator, you are feeling it comfortably. Mr. Speaker, it cannot be that up to now 15 billion Kenya shillings of mineral royalties has not been released to Migori or Nandi. I think you need to tell Mbadi, one of the experts that was given, to pay this 15 billion. Because your people, Eddie, and my people are suffering because of not receiving it. Yesterday we were discussing on issue of equalization funds. 46.5 billion is yet to be released. Mr. Speaker, are we serious? Then we want services to be provided, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, even in Chemeli, Chemase, we have Kerebe gold mine, Mr. Speaker. We need to see value in even Kapsa House, Mr. Speaker. We need to see value. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of intern doctors, that one has been resolved. I am happy. And CHV community health promoters, it must be seen, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of flogger, I wanted to make a final comment, Mr. Speaker, because in the interest of time. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to appeal because Nandi is going to get 480.8 million through additional funds, Mr. Speaker. Nandi is going, but I want to agree with the majority leader. World Bank is now a conduit of corruption. Mr. Speaker, when the first Kenya Urban Support Program and Kenya Devolution Program came to now, I wrote so many letters to World Bank to demand accountability and projects being done in Nandi. They never responded. They imagine I was sending them compliments, Mr. Speaker. I want to challenge finance and budget and PAC to call this World Bank another donor. They must be accountable. They are busy lecturing us about democracy, accountability. Yet when you today write about Kenya Urban Support Program or Kenya Devolution Program about Migori County Government, Eddie, try right today. World Bank will never even acknowledge your receipt of your letter. They will never tell you what is happening in Bomet. And they have specific contractors. That is why my people, Mosoria Township, were demonstrating, Mr. Speaker. We have tried to engage World Bank, Mr. Speaker. Why are World Bank operating in secrecy? Like they are night runners, Mr. Speaker. Or they are processing witchcraft and sorcery, Mr. Speaker. World Bank and other donors who give us grants and loans, Senator Eddie, Senator Kajwang, Senator Mutinda, they must appear before Senate and tell us what they are doing in Nairobi. Why do they want to operate above the law? And this money is not a funeral money or muchango. It is money that we must pay back. Mr. Speaker, I want to request you, after you leave here, you are one of the senior lawyers in this country. Try and write to World Bank and request them and even other donors what is happening in Bomet. They will never respond because they are now conduit of corruption. And that is why I agree with Donald Trump when he disbanded USAID. Because they cannot, that they don't want to account to anybody. They want to live in upcoming. Mr. Speaker, can you believe they even do what we call training and sensitization? 20% of the money they are taking it to Fochai and Mandazi at their training community patrons, Mr. Speaker. We must be told. I want to challenge Finance and Budget Committee and Public Accounts to come out strongly on this matter. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support and I thank you.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are progressing well as a Senate. And I wanted to appreciate that, Mr. Speaker, even as I get up and right away, support this bill before us, the county government's additional allocation bill. Mr. Speaker, this bill comes in the backdrop of the division bill, the revenue division bill that we just passed.